The paradox of space is that the most dangerous part of the journey is not the cold, empty void. It is not the endless darkness or the crushing distance from home. The most dangerous part is the atmosphere of our very own planet. The air that gives us life, the sky that we gaze at with wonder, becomes a brutal wall of fire. Imagine falling from the stars. You are returning from the moon, carrying the dreams of humanity. But to reach the safety of the ocean, you must pass through an inferno. You must endure 4 minutes of absolute silence, cut off from the rest of the world. 4 minutes that will decide everything. Sit back, take a deep, slow breath. Let the weight of your day simply melt away. Close your eyes or watch the slow ballet of the cosmos on your screen. Today, we are going to travel with the crew of Artemis 2. We will experience the sheer power, the hypnotic physics, and the tranquil terror of lunar re-entry. You are safe here. Let us guide you through the fire. To truly understand the magnitude of this moment, we must look back. For over 50 years, humanity has not ventured beyond low Earth orbit. The Apollo missions taught us how to leave, and more importantly, how to return. But the Orion spacecraft of the Artemis generation is heavier, more complex, and diving into the atmosphere with incredible momentum. When you return from the International Space Station, you are traveling at roughly 17,000 miles per hour. But when you return from the moon, gravity pulls you in a long, accelerating embrace. You hit the edge of Earth's atmosphere at a staggering 25,000 miles per hour. That is Mach 32. At this speed, the air itself cannot move out of the way fast enough. It compresses, it ignites, it transforms into a state of matter so energetic that it defies the imagination. This is not just a landing, it is a collision with the sky. And the only thing standing between the astronauts and absolute destruction is a few inches of engineered material and the cold calculation of orbital mechanics. The long voyage home. Our journey begins in the quiet cradle of translunar space. The Earth is a glowing blue marble suspended in an ocean of absolute black. Picture a delicate glass ornament resting on dark velvet. For days, the Artemis 2 crew has been falling toward this brilliant sphere. The engines are silent. The hum of the life support systems is the only sound in the Orion capsule. There is a profound sense of peace here. A deep, heavy tranquility that only deep space can offer. But beneath this calm, a tremendous energy is building. Gravity is reeling them in. Speed is accumulating with every passing second. Many people believe a spacecraft must use its engines to slow down before reaching Earth. But to dispel that myth, the truth is far more elegant. They will not use thrusters to stop. They will use the Earth's sky itself. The atmosphere is their brake. The capsule is perfectly aligned, drifting silently as the blue marble grows impossibly huge in the windows, the silence before the storm. The edge of the world. We have reached the boundary line, an invisible threshold floating 400,000 feet above the Earth's surface. This is the entry interface. Imagine crossing a border where the rules of physics suddenly change. Up until this moment, the spacecraft has known only the frictionless vacuum of space. Now it tastes the very first, thinnest molecules of air. It is a gentle greeting at first, just a whisper against the hull. But at 25,000 miles per hour, even a whisper carries devastating force. The crew is strapped tightly into their seats. Their breathing is steady. They are watching the numbers drop on their displays. Altitude decreasing, velocity holding fast. The capsule is flying backward, its broad, rounded heat shield leading the way. Think of a stone perfectly angled to skip across a tranquil pond. The angle must be perfect. Just a few degrees too steep, and the gravity load will crush them. A few degrees too shallow, and they will bounce off the atmosphere, lost to the void forever. The concept of the skip. Here we encounter a masterpiece of modern engineering, the skip re-entry. It sounds almost playful, doesn't it? But it is a maneuver of absolute precision. Let us debunk a common myth. Spacecraft do not just fall like a rock, plummeting straight down to the surface. If Orion did that, the heat and the G-forces would be unsurvivable. Instead, Orion will dive into the atmosphere, let the air slow it down, and then actually generate lift. It will fly back up, briefly popping out of the denser atmosphere to cool down, before taking a second, final plunge. Picture a dolphin leaping gracefully out of the water to catch its breath before diving deep again. This skip reduces the intense heat. It spreads the punishment out over a longer distance. It is a delicate dance between gravity and aerodynamics. The capsule is not just falling, it is flying. It is surfing the very edge of the sky. The first touch of fire. The whisper of the upper atmosphere quickly turns into a roar. The capsule dives deeper. The air is no longer just brushing past, it is being crushed. At Mach 32, the air molecules simply cannot get out of the way. They are trapped against the blunt face of the heat shield. They compress. And as any physics student will tell you, compression creates heat. Incredible, unimaginable heat. A common misconception is that friction causes the spacecraft to heat up like rubbing your hands together, but it is not friction. It is sheer, brutal compression. The air is being squeezed so violently that the molecules break apart. Picture a bicycle pump getting warm in your hands as you compress the air. Now, multiply that pressure by millions. The temperature outside the window begins to rise. A faint, pink glow starts to dance across the glass. The tranquil darkness of space is being pushed away by the birth of something terrifying and beautiful. The birth of plasma. The pink glow deepens, it shifts to a brilliant, angry orange. The heat is now so intense that the very air undergoes a radical transformation. The oxygen and nitrogen molecules are ripped apart. Their electrons are stripped away. The gas surrounding the capsule becomes plasma. The fourth state of matter. Imagine the swirling surface of the sun brought down to encase a small metal room. The capsule is flying inside a teardrop of artificial sunlight. The temperature outside exceeds 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is hotter than the melting point of steel, hotter than lava. If the capsule were unprotected, it would vaporize in seconds. But inside, the crew feels only the vibration, a deep, heavy rumbling that shakes them to their bones. The hum of the machinery is drowned out by the roar of the plasma. The window shows a fluid, swirling wall of blinding light. They are inside the fire. The shield of Avcoat. How does one survive inside the heart of a star? The answer lies at the bottom of the Orion capsule, the heat shield, a masterpiece of chemistry and engineering. It is coated with a material called Avcoat. It feels like a dense sponge, but it is designed for a single, noble purpose: to die so the crew may live. The myth is that heat shields just absorb heat like an oven mitt, but Avcoat works through a process called ablation. Imagine throwing a block of ice into a raging bonfire. The ice melts and the steam carries the heat away, protecting the core of the block for just a little while. The Avcoat does precisely this. As the 5,000-degree plasma licks the shield, the material slowly burns away. It chars, turns to gas, and takes the immense thermal energy with it into the slipstream. The spacecraft is leaving a trail of its own protective skin in the sky. It is a beautiful, sacrificial process. The shield is dissolving, keeping the cabin behind it at a comfortable room temperature. The descent into silence. As the plasma thickens, a new phenomenon begins, the most nerve-wracking phase of the entire mission, the blackout. Radio waves, which are essentially invisible light, cannot penetrate the dense shell of electrically charged plasma. The connection is severed. The voices from mission control in Houston fade to static and then to nothing. The telemetry screens on the ground freeze. For 4 incredibly long minutes, the capsule is entirely alone. Imagine driving down a dark highway entirely cut off from the world, guided only by the headlights and the computer's memory. No one on Earth knows if the crew is alive. No one knows if the heat shield is holding. The universe shrinks down to the size of the capsule cabin. The astronauts are isolated in a cocoon of roaring fire. It is a profound, heavy silence, not of sound but of connection, the ultimate test of trust in the machine. The wait in Houston. Let us shift our perspective. Picture the cavernous room of mission control. The giant screens that once showed endless streams of data now show only a blinking timer. The clock counts up. 1 minute, 2 minutes. The room is dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Dozens of engineers, scientists, and flight directors sit motionless at their consoles. There is a myth that spaceflight is all action all the time, but the reality is that spaceflight is mostly waiting. Intense, agonizing waiting. They have run the math 1,000 times. They trust the physics, but physics is unforgiving. Families watch from observation decks holding their breath. The only thing moving in the room is the relentless sweep of the second hand. They are waiting for a ghost to speak from the fire. They are waiting for the plasma to fade. The weight of gravity. Inside the blackout, the crew is facing another challenge, the rapid deceleration. As the atmosphere thickens, it pushes back against the capsule with monumental force. The speed is bleeding off. 25,000 miles per hour drops to 15,000, then 10,000. But this rapid slowing down creates immense G-forces. The crew feels as though a giant, invisible hand is pressing them deep into their seats. It becomes hard to breathe. Imagine a stack of heavy blankets suddenly dropped onto your chest. They might experience up to 5 or 6 times the force of normal gravity. Their arms feel like lead. They must use specialized breathing techniques just to keep oxygen flowing to their brains. They cannot speak. They can only endure. The roar of the rushing air is deafening. The vibration shakes their vision. It is a violent, chaotic symphony of physics playing out inside a bubble of silence. The beauty of the plasma. Despite the violence, there is an eerie, hypnotic beauty to this moment. Through the small windows, the plasma dances. It is not just orange, it shifts through a spectrum of impossible colors. Brilliant yellows, blinding whites, and occasional flashes of violet. It looks like liquid neon flowing over the glass like water over a smooth stone. It is mesmerizing. An astronaut once described it as flying through a neon tube. The human mind struggles to comprehend the sheer energy just inches away. It is terrifying, yet profoundly peaceful in its inevitability. There is nothing the crew can do now to change their fate. They are passengers on a wave of kinetic energy. The computers are flying. The capsule is perfectly stable. All they can do is watch the mesmerizing dance of the fire, trusting in the math that brought them here. The apex of the dive. The capsule hits the lowest point of its first dive. It has carved a massive trench through the upper atmosphere. The heat shield is glowing white-hot. But now, the aerodynamic lift generated by the capsule's shape begins to take effect. The immense speed and the angle of the shield cause the spacecraft to pitch slightly upward. It is bouncing. The invisible hand of the atmosphere pushes them back toward space. This is the skip. The numbers on the altitude display stop dropping and begin to rise again. The G-forces slowly start to ease. The crushing weight on their chests lifts, allowing them to take a full, deep breath. The roar of the plasma begins to quiet down just slightly. They are flying out of the deepest part of the valley of fire. A breath of cold air. The spacecraft climbs back up to roughly 300,000 feet. The atmosphere here is thin, almost non-existent. The blinding light outside the windows begins to fade. The swirling neon orange melts away, revealing the deep, tranquil black of space once more. For a brief, shining moment, the stars return. The capsule uses this time to cool down. The remaining heat shield radiates its absorbed energy out into the cold void. Picture stepping out of a suffocating sauna into a crisp winter night. The relief is palpable. The spacecraft is shedding its thermal burden. The computers perform lightning-fast checks. The trajectory is nominal. The first, most dangerous hurdle has been cleared, but the journey is not over. The skip has scrubbed a massive amount of speed, but they are still traveling far too fast. to open parachutes. They must dive again. The return of the signal. As they arc through this higher, thinner air, something magical happens. The plasma shell dissipates just enough to let a signal through. Down in Houston, a green light flickers on a console. A burst of telemetry floods the screens. The room erupts in a collective exhale. A voice cuts through the static. "Houston, Orion, we are passing through the skip." It is a moment of pure, unadulterated relief. The silence has been broken. The math was right. The machine held together. But Mission Control knows the celebration must wait. They analyze the data pouring in. They check the remaining thickness of the heat shield. They verify the navigation coordinates. The spacecraft is preparing for the second plunge. The crew takes one last look at the stars, knowing the fire is waiting for them below. The second plunge, gravity takes hold once more. The capsule reaches the peak of its skip and begins to fall. This time, the angle is steeper. The trajectory is locked onto a specific patch of the Pacific Ocean. The black sky outside the window begins to change again. The air thickens. The roar returns. But this time, it is different. The speed has been reduced from Mach 32 to a much more manageable velocity. The plasma does not return with the same blinding intensity. There is heat, yes, there is fire, but it is not the star-like inferno of the first entry. It is a controlled, steady burn. The capsule is now acting less like a meteor and more like an aircraft. It is steering, banking slightly to the left and right, using the lift vector to guide itself toward the landing zone. Imagine an eagle tucking its wings to dive toward a precise target on the ground. The symphony of sound. As they dive deeper into the lower atmosphere, the nature of the sound changes. It shifts from a high-frequency vibrating roar to a deep, rushing wind. It sounds like a hurricane outside the hull. The air pressure is increasing. The crew can feel it in their ears, a subtle popping sensation as the cabin pressure equalizes with the outside world. They are flying through the stratosphere, the layer of the sky where weather balloons float and high-altitude jets soar. The sky outside the window transitions from black to a deep, beautiful navy blue. They are crossing the threshold into the familiar. The fire has faded entirely. The heat shield has done its job. It is charred, blackened, and scarred, a testament to the battle it just fought. But it held. The crew is safe inside. The speed of sound. At roughly 100,000 feet, the spacecraft slows down to Mach 1. The speed of sound. This is a critical transition. As they break through the sound barrier, two massive sonic booms echo across the sky. Picture a crack of thunder that rattles the clouds. To the recovery ships waiting in the ocean below, it is the herald of their arrival, a sound that means success. Inside the capsule, there is a slight shudder. The aerodynamics change as they enter subsonic flight. They are now just a heavy metal bell falling through the blue sky. The wind noise is deafening, but there is no more plasma, no more communication blackout. Houston is talking to them continuously now, calling out altitudes and speeds. The tone in Mission Control is calm, focused, and tinged with anticipation. The forward bay cover. Now a sequence of precisely timed explosions must occur. The top of the spacecraft, the forward bay cover, must be jettisoned. This cover protected the delicate parachutes during the fiery re-entry. Pyrotechnic bolts fire in a perfect synchronized circle. With a loud clunk and a rush of air, the cover is blown away, falling freely toward the ocean. The parachute compartment is now exposed to the wind. This is a moment of high tension. If the cover fails to separate, the parachutes cannot deploy. The capsule would simply hit the water at terminal velocity. But the engineering is flawless. The cover falls away like a leaf detaching from a branch. The sky rushes into the bay, preparing to catch the falling spacecraft. The drogue shoots. At 24,000 feet, the computer gives the command. Two mortar cannons fire simultaneously. They shoot the drogue parachutes out into the rushing wind. These are not the massive main parachutes. They are smaller, heavily reinforced chutes designed to do one thing: stabilize the capsule and slow it down just enough. Picture throwing a heavy anchor behind a speeding boat. The drogues catch the air. There is a violent, sudden jerk. The crew is thrown forward against their straps. The wild, tumbling motion of the capsule is instantly arrested. It hangs suspended beneath these two relatively small canopies, falling straight and true. The speed drops from hundreds of miles per hour to around 100 miles per hour. The roaring wind outside softens to a steady, loud rush. The main chutes deploy. At 8,000 feet, the final act begins. The drogue chutes are cut away. For a brief, terrifying second, the capsule is in freefall again, but then 3 pilot chutes pull out the 3 massive main parachutes. At first, they are deployed in a reefed condition. They look like long, twisted ribbons trailing behind the spacecraft. And this is intentional. If they opened fully all at once, the force of the wind would rip them to shreds. Slowly, beautifully, the reefing lines are cut. The parachutes expand, first into a bulbous shape and then, finally, into 3 gigantic, glorious domes. They are massive, bright orange and white against the blue sky. Imagine 3 hot air balloons suddenly inflating above the capsule. The sudden deceleration pushes the crew deep into their seats one last time. The gentle descent. The violence is over. The fire is gone. The crushing G-forces have dissipated. The capsule is now drifting downward at a serene 20 miles per hour. It sways gently beneath the 3 massive canopies. The ride becomes incredibly smooth. It is the ultimate relief. The crew can look out the windows and see the vast, sparkling expanse of the Pacific Ocean below them. The sky is bright and welcoming. The silence inside the capsule is broken only by the sound of the cooling fans and the chatter of the recovery helicopters on the radio. They have crossed the void. They have danced with the plasma. And now they are floating home on a cushion of air. The contrast is mind-boggling. From Mach 32 to a leisurely glide. The golden hour. The lighting outside the capsule is often spectacular. Depending on the time of day, they might be descending into a golden sunset or a crisp, bright morning. The ocean below looks soft, inviting. A myth surrounding splashdown is that the water acts like a soft pillow. In reality, hitting water at 20 miles per hour in a 20,000-pound spacecraft is more like hitting a concrete wall, but the seats inside the Orion capsule are suspended on shock-absorbing struts. The astronauts prepare for the impact. They brace their necks. They stow any loose gear. They watch the altimeter tick down. 1,000 feet, 500 feet. The water is rushing up to meet them. They can see the whitecaps on the waves. They can see the tiny dots of the recovery boats racing toward their position. The physics of the splash. Let us pause for a moment to appreciate the physics of this final touch. The capsule hits the water bottom first. The charred, rounded heat shield acts as a wedge, displacing a massive amount of water in a fraction of a second. The kinetic energy is transferred into the ocean, creating a tremendous splash. The spacecraft will plunge beneath the surface for a brief moment, surrounded by a cloud of bubbles. Then, its natural buoyancy will force it back up. It bobs to the surface like a cork. The parachutes, now useless, collapse and drift onto the waves. Inside, the crew feels a violent jolt, followed by the sickening, swaying motion of a boat caught in the swells. They are no longer astronauts, they are sailors. The uprighting system. Once in the water, a new danger presents itself. The capsule could capsize. It could float upside down, leaving the crew hanging from their straps in the dark, unable to open the hatch. But Orion is equipped with a self-righting system. A series of bright orange balloons called the Crew Module Uprighting System inflate from the top of the capsule. Picture a life jacket suddenly inflating around a drowning swimmer. These balloons shift the center of gravity, forcing the capsule to roll over and bob upright. The windows point to the sky once more. The antennas clear the water, ensuring constant communication with the recovery ships. The system is elegant, automatic, and essential for the safety of the weary travelers. The smell of the sea. Now a critical valve opens. The capsule needs to equalize its internal pressure with the fresh, sea-level air outside. For days, the crew has breathed recycled, heavily filtered air. It smelled of metal, plastic, and the sterile hum of machinery. But as that valve opens, something miraculous happens. The smell of the ocean rushes in, salt, moisture, life. It is the scent of Earth. For an astronaut returning from the sterile void of space, there is no smell more intoxicating. It is the undeniable proof that they are home. The sensory deprivation of the cosmos is replaced by the overwhelming, chaotic, beautiful reality of our planet. They breathe deeply, filling their lungs with the air that the heat shield just fought so hard to conquer. The approach of the fleet. Outside, the scene is a flurry of coordinated action. The recovery ship, a massive Navy vessel, is just miles away. Small, fast boats zip across the water toward the bobbing capsule. Divers plunge into the sea. They swim to the blackened hull of the spacecraft. They attach a flotation collar to stabilize it in the waves. They knock on the window. A thumbs up is exchanged. The connection is made. The isolation that began in the dark side of the moon is officially over. Humanity has reached out and grabbed them. Picture a team of medics rushing to a weary marathon runner at the finish line. The capsule is secured. The long journey is truly coming to an end. The heat radiates. Even bobbing in the cool ocean, the spacecraft is still dangerously hot. The heat shield absorbed temperatures of 5,000 degrees just minutes ago. The metal hull is radiating waves of thermal energy. The divers must be careful where they touch. They use long poles and specialized equipment. The water around the base of the capsule literally hisses and boils in small patches. It is a stark reminder of the inferno they just survived. The capsule is a sleeping dragon, slowly cooling down in the ocean's embrace. The engineers on the recovery ship monitor the temperature data, waiting for the all clear. They cannot open the hatch until the hull is safe to touch. Patience is still required, even at the very end. The winch and the well deck. The massive recovery ship positions itself. The back of the ship, called the well deck, opens up like the mouth of a whale. The small boats tow the Orion capsule toward this cavernous opening. A massive winch is attached. Slowly, mechanically, the spacecraft is pulled out of the water and onto a cradle inside the ship. The swaying stops. The solid deck of the ship provides a stable ground. The water drains from the charred heat shield. The mission is physically over. The spacecraft that touched the vacuum of deep space and the fire of the atmosphere is now resting quietly on a metal deck, surrounded by hundreds of cheering sailors and engineers. It is a moment of profound triumph. Opening the hatch, the final step. The pressure has been equalized. The hull has cooled. A technician turns the heavy latch on the side door. With a hiss of seals and the clanking of metal, the hatch swings open. The bright lights of the well deck flood into the dim cabin. The crew unbuckles their harnesses. Gravity is fully back. Their bodies feel heavy, clumsy, unaccustomed to the weight. They are helped out of the capsule. They step onto the deck. They are exhausted, exhilarated, and forever changed. They have seen the dark side of the moon. They have ridden a meteor through the sky. And they have survived. The 4 minutes of terror are a memory now, locked away in the flight data recorders and the minds of the crew. The legacy of the shield. Let us take one last look at the Orion capsule. The pristine white paint is gone. The hull is scorched, streaked with brown and black burn marks. The Avcoat heat shield is pitted, cracked, and partially dissolved. It looks ruined, but to an engineer it is a work of supreme art. It performed flawlessly. It sacrificed itself perfectly according to the math. It is a monument to human ingenuity. We take sand and chemicals, we mold them into a shield, and we use it to defeat the raw, kinetic energy of the cosmos. The capsule will be studied, analyzed, and placed in a museum. But its true legacy is the knowledge that we can go back, we can cross the fire and survive. The dawn of a new era. The successful re-entry of Artemis 2 is not just the end of a mission, it is a doorway. It proves that our new machines are ready. It paves the way for Artemis 3, for footprints on the lunar South Pole, and eventually for the long, quiet journey to Mars. The 4 minutes of blackout will happen again, the plasma will roar again, but we will be ready. The fear of the unknown has been replaced by the quiet confidence of experience. We have mastered the fire. We have turned the hostile sky into a braking system. The universe is vast, cold, and unforgiving, but as long as we have the ingenuity to build the shield, there is no place we cannot go and no home we cannot return to. The fire fades, the roaring wind becomes a memory. The Artemis 2 crew has returned, safe in the embrace of the ocean. Those 4 minutes of absolute silence, of blinding plasma and crushing gravity, are the ultimate test of human courage and engineering. They remind us that exploring the cosmos is not just about reaching outward, it is about surviving the journey back. We have ridden the fire together today, from the silence of translunar space to the scent of the sea air. Thank you for joining us on this immersive journey through the atmosphere. If you found peace in the face of this immense power, please subscribe to the channel. Let us explore the wonders of the universe together. Now tell us in the comments below, knowing the terrifying physics of re-entry, would you still volunteer to take the journey?